They crushed my son's bones, then realized he was a military cadet. My name is Dr. Simone Carter. I'm a pediatric trauma surgeon, but nothing not combat zone rotations or inner-city ER shifts could have prepared me for the call I got that morning. Ma'am, there's been an incident. They said my son was being taken to the trauma bay. They didn't say why until I saw the footage myself. By then, the damage was done: 28 fractures, and a truth no one could unsee. 3 months earlier, we'd moved into Maple Hollow, a gated suburban community outside Richmond. It was supposed to be a quiet place for my son Elijah to rest between his military cadet program or rotations. Elijah was 17, disciplined, composed, and built like his father, who died in Afghanistan when Elijah was 9. We kept to ourselves, planted tulips, mowed the lawn, waved to neighbors. No drama, until Karen Holt introduced herself. She didn't smile, she evaluated. Clipboard in hand, aviator sunglasses on, and a badge that looked suspiciously homemade. "I'm head of Maple Hollow Compliance Patrol," she said. "We monitor community standards. We've noticed some unregistered visitors and suspicious activity." I stared at her. "My son, he's a cadet, home on break." She leaned in. "Military boys don't get a pass here. Doctor, uniform or not." I should have walked away. I didn't. I nodded politely, closed the door, and began documenting. Weeks passed. Karen's patrol grew bolder. 2 men in black polos and utility belts knocked every other night. They filmed our recycling bins. They left warnings about excessive vehicle idling. One ticketed my parked SUV for military insignia clutter. Elijah called them the fake cops. He wasn't wrong. That Sunday morning, I was at the hospital. Elijah went on a jog around the block. He wore his cadet PT gear and a hydration pack. A neighbor's ring camera caught what happened next. The HOA officers blocked him with a golf cart. They shouted, "Stop ID!" Elijah slowed, confused. "I live here. I'm just running." They ordered him to lie down. He didn't. He stepped back. They tackled him, slammed him onto the pavement. He screamed. They told him to stop resisting. One planted a knee on his back. The other twisted his arm behind his shoulder. Snap! The screams pierced half the street. He never fought back. By the time paramedics arrived, my son had multiple compound fractures: shoulder, ribs, clavicle, and femur. The HOA officers told first responders he was a threat, on drugs, and resisted arrest. But the responding EMT had served. He recognized the cadet uniform. He made the call to the Richmond military base. Within 45 minutes, military police arrived. 10 minutes after that, the real police. Karen Holt was still at the scene. When they informed her that Elijah was a recognized Department of Defense youth cadet, her smug face drained. She said, "We didn't know, but they never asked. They assumed, because he was black, because he was tall, because he was in uniform." In the following days, the story exploded. Teen cadet brutally beaten by HOA patrol was doing morning. Jog fake HOA enforcers, hospitalized youth cadet, mother is trauma surgeon 28. Broken bones, one neighborhood reckoning. I was no longer just a mother, I became a weapon of fact and fire. I filed a formal federal complaint. The HOA had no legal security clearance, no chartered authority, and their so-called patrol team was a private group led by Karen Holt to enforce community values. They were trained by a private contractor, a group Karen's husband partially funded. She ran drills, maintained files, targeted non-compliant homes, and 87% of those homes belonged to people of color. It was a surveillance regime disguised as suburban order. Within days, the community cracked open. More families came forward, threatened for grilling on porches, playing non-English music, or hosting relatives. A petition launched to remove Karen and disband the patrol. It gained 22,000 signatures overnight after the hospital released Elijah's x-rays. His shattered bones became a symbol, a metaphor, and yet some neighbors defended her. She was just trying to keep us safe. He should have followed directions. Why didn't he comply? That's when I brought Elijah home in a wheelchair and let him speak for himself. He sat in front of City Hall, camera lights flashing, arm in a cast, leg braced, and said, I signed up to defend this country, not to be broken by people who think power gives them permission to attack first and ask later. There was no anger in his voice, just clarity, stillness. The silence that followed was heavier than any roar. Karen was arrested for aggravated assault, impersonating law enforcement, and conspiracy to commit false detention. 2 of her patrol members were indicted. Her husband's private training firm lost its government license. Her house, once the pride of Maple Hollow, was vandalized with a sign, "No justice, no neighborhood." And Elijah, he was invited to speak at a congressional hearing on community policing abuse. The president of his military program awarded him a personal commendation for restraint under pressure. He never returned to Maple Hollow, but I did. I led the medical board that helped pass Elijah's law statewide, a new code mandating strict limits on HOA enforcement actions and requiring oversight by municipal police before any private patrol group can form. The community changed. So did I. I used to believe silence protected peace, but silence, I learned, was the weapon they counted on, because you never know how strong you are until you see your child broken for simply existing. The end. HOA Karens.